Good afternoon, everybody. We're doing some more internet safety work this afternoon. Now, yesterday we learned about Smarty the penguin, didn't we? And what to do if something on the internet confuses you or upsets you, or you're a bit worried about what you've seen online. Can you remember what Smarty the penguin told us? That's right. To tell a grown-up and get them to help you to sort it out. Don't just try and do things by yourselves. Right, my Grace has been very, very noisy in the background. Let me just tell her to be quiet. Back. I think she was opera singing in her bedroom. Anyway, today we're going to be learning more about how to stay safe online, and that things that we see online or read online might not always be true. Things online can be true, untrue, and an opinion as well. True, untrue, and an opinion. So how do we know what is what? Well, today's story is all about a little duck, and the story is called Detective Duck. And this detective duck is going to be learning about how to work out what is true, untrue, or an opinion online, so that they're not getting themselves confused or learning the wrong information, which can be quite relevant to us in year 2 and at all the children at primary school and further on, especially at the moment with our online learning, because we're asking you to research lots of things. You did ocean animals, didn't you, the other week? And you were looking at information about some of those ocean animals. So maybe you looked online. How did you know what you found was true? Well, today, Detective Duck has got a project to do from his teachers at school, and he has to find out about woodland animals. So let me share the screen and we can begin. Share. Oof. Here we go. Can you see it? Detective Digiduck. Here's our duck friend. And it's written by Lindsay Buck and illustrated by Stephanie Cartwright. School had nearly finished for the year, and Digiduck had one last project. His teacher, Mrs Goose, had asked the class to find out about animals that live in the forest. Digiduck knew his parents had friends in the forest, but he'd never been. Forests were a mystery. He needed to rush though. Crazy Cat and Footy Fox were on his family farmyard games team, and they were so close to winning. If he could do this quickly, they could still play before bedtime. He searched online for forest animals. There were so many websites to choose from, but one picture caught his attention straight away. Perfect, he said happily. Which picture has he found that's caught his attention online? Can you see that fire-breathing dragon? Digiduck discovered that a deer's antlers are the fastest growing body part of any animal in the world, and once they start growing, they don't stop. This is first fact. Doves travel for thousands of miles when they migrate and are the happiest in cold weather. And all dragons can fly and breathe fire. They live in the deepest, darkest forests. That's incredible, said Digiduck. He looked at the clock. Crazy Cat would still be online. Game time! So he's got all his work done. He's found his information on forest animals, and he still has time to play on his game. I think he feels very happy with himself. Later that week, when Mrs Goose returned his work, he was surprised. "Oh no," he exclaimed, "I wonder where I went wrong." He arrived home feeling glum, but soon cheered up when he saw that Wise Owl was visiting. He was a good friend and had helped Digiduck before. Look, there's Wise Owl. And doesn't he look wise? "I don't understand," said Digiduck, showing them his work. "The website I chose had lots of information and fantastic pictures. I thought they were all facts. How can I tell the difference?" "Something is only a fact if you can prove or show that it's true," explained Wise Owl. "Like the fact that all birds have beaks. We can see that. We know that's true. So if I said all birds have 8 legs, that is not a fact. I know it's untrue because I am one," replied Digiduck. "Precisely," said Wise Owl. Also, things you read online might just be ideas that people have. I could say on the internet that Brave Bat is the best superhero, but you might think that Daring Duck is better. We can't say who's right or wrong because they're our own opinions or feelings that we have, not necessarily fact. To check that something is a fact, you have to be a detective Digiduck and look for the information or clues in other places too. Don't just rely on one source. Digiduck leaped up enthusiastically. Detective Digiduck on the case. He quickly stopped in his tracks. "Hang on, where else are we going to look for information?" "I'm going to teach you 3 things that you can do to help decide if what you found on the internet is a fact or not. We'll use a different one for each forest animal," explained Wise Owl. "We'll video call one of the animals, we'll chat with your parents, and we'll look on another website too." "This is going to be amazing," yelled Digiduck. "Please, can we call the dragon first? Please." "We'll save the dragon for later, but we'll call my friend Big Buck first. No one knows more about being a deer than a deer himself." The call connected and a magnificent stag appeared on screen. His antlers were quite unexpected, though. What's wrong with his antlers? They're quite small, aren't they? "Hi," waved Digiduck. "The internet says that your antlers grow really fast and never stop, but now I'm not so sure." "Our antlers grow remarkably fast," said Big Buck proudly. That part's true. But we shed them in the spring and they grow again in the summer." What does shed mean, children? But we shed them in the spring. That's right, that means they fall off. They lose them, they come off in the spring. And then they start growing again. So if you see a deer and they've only got the small antlers, that means they've shed off a month or 2 prior and they've just started to grow back again. When you see a deer with a stag with big antlers, that means they've been growing for a few months. But come the spring, they'll fall off again. "Wait, they come off?" quacked Digiduck, turning a little pale. "It's okay," chuckled Big Buck. "They're meant to, and it doesn't hurt a bit." They returned to the project over dinner. "Mummy Duck, can you tell us anything about doves?" asked Wise Owl. I know that doves are truly extraordinary flyers. They won't be long before our friends think about heading off again. Where to? Asked Digiduck. The internet said they like cold places. Not all doves are the same, but some fly an exceptionally long way to get to warmer places, and this migration lasts many months. Oh, the stories they tell, replied Mummy Duck wistfully. Can you see where the doves are? Look, they're not in a cold place, are they? Oh, on a tropical beach somewhere. Right, detective, what have you learnt so far? Asked Wise Owl. Digiduck studied his notebook. To check the information you find online, you need to talk about it with an adult. You might even know an expert who can help too. Can you see his notes he's made? He's spoken to Big Buck and got the correct information. And he's spoken to his mummy and daddy about doves and got the correct information there as well. Very good, replied Wise Owl. That just leaves the dragon. Oh, I can't wait, said Digiduck, hopping excitedly. Before we start, it's useful to ask yourself some questions about what you discovered online. There might be things that you already know that can help. A good detective thinks really carefully about the clues to decide what the facts are. What do you know about dragons so far? Asked Wise Owl. The websites say they can fly and breathe fire, replied Digiduck. Have you or anyone you know ever seen a dragon? Wise Owl asked kindly. I've seen a dragon fly before, but not a flying dragon. I don't think anyone I know has seen one of those. Have you seen any other photographs, videos, or news reports about dragons in your books, on TV, or anywhere online? I don't breathe fire. I watched a video about Komodo dragons, but they're actually the biggest lizard in the world. They are fire-breathing dragons. There are fire-breathing dragons in my bedtime stories, but lots of made-up things happen there too. Digiduck sat quietly considering the clues in his mind. After a while he said, with a little sigh, I think dragons might not be real. I'm afraid they aren't, comforted Wise Owl. The information you found about dragons wasn't true. They only live in made-up stories. But what terrific stories they are. Wise Owl and Digiduck searched online for a different animal to complete his project. The family farmyard had lots of interesting forest facts, and Digiduck also checked a website that Mrs Goose had shown them. On the last day of term, the children were bursting with excitement. As a special treat, Mrs Goose had arranged a picnic lunch at the forest school. They've taken a school trip to the forest so they can see it for themselves. Look, I think they're playing pin the tail on the dragon. They've got a campfire, haven't they? And there's a range of different forest animals around. So, I would like you children to have a little look at this page here. Can you see with the notebook on? It says talk about the story. See if I can make it bigger. There we go. So in a moment you're going to pause me and have a good think about all of these things, and there's 5 questions here for you to talk about with somebody, or write down the answers, or think about in your own head. depending on where you're at. Number 1 says, what 3 things did Wise Owl teach Digiduck to do to check what he had found out? Number 2 says, decide if each of these statements is fact, an opinion, or untrue. So there's 3 statements there, 3 small sentences. You need to decide which is which. And then can you think of your own examples too? Question 3 is name 5 adults that you know and trust that could help you with your problems online. Now, we talked a bit about this yesterday, didn't we? So have a think about which 5 adults you know and trust that could help you with problems online. Question 4 is, if anything online confuses, worried, or upset you, how would you ask for help? And what could you say? Again, we spoke about this a bit yesterday. So have a think carefully about what the correct way to go about asking for help on the internet might be. And finally, question 5 is, can you use the internet to find out something new about a forest animal? Remember to use Wise Owl's tips to check your facts. So that you can do as well, question 5, if you want to. So pause me now, have a read through those questions again and try and work out the answers, and then we'll go through it together in a moment. Okay, what 3 things did Wise Owl teach Digiduck to do? Well, to get your information from a range of sources, didn't he? He didn't just take one source information. They asked experts. They checked with other grown-ups that might know or have experience in that area. For example, they spoke to the stag because the stag, who knows more about a stag than a stag himself? So they checked with the expert. They checked with other grown-ups to ask if they knew any information about it, and they asked the mummy about the doves. And they checked other websites. They didn't just go on one website's words. They checked a few different websites, or books might be an idea, or documentaries, to make sure that what you found out on the internet is in fact true. Decide if these statements are fact, an opinion, or untrue. A duck has feathers is true. A duck can spin a web. That is untrue. A duck is beautiful. That is an opinion. Well done. Brilliant. I agree. I do agree ducks are beautiful, but it is an opinion. Can you think of your own examples too? Okay, here's my go. A spider has 8 legs. True. A spider has 1 eye. Untrue. They have loads of eyes. Loads of eyes. They don't just have one, so that's untrue. Spiders are hideous. That's right, it's an opinion. Because somebody else might think they're great, the best animal ever, and somebody else might think they're all right. It's just an opinion, what I think. Although spiders are fine, I'm not that bothered by them. That was my example. Right, 5 adults that you know, trust, and that can help you with any online problems. Did you think of those 5? If you can't think of 5, go and check with a grown-up, like your parents, and tell them the people that you've listed so far and say, Mummy or Daddy, I need to think of 5 adults I can trust. Can you help me? Because maybe they can help you. Mummy, Daddy, Mrs Warburton, Mrs Walton. Mrs Heyman would have been one of them, but she's moved on. We've got Mrs Walton now. Mrs Ellaway, and I'm sure you've got other family members as well that you might be able to go to. Mr Richards. I could go on. Anyway, number 4. If anything online confuses, worries, or upsets you, how would you ask for help? What could you say? You just go to one of those adults that you trust and you just say, help me, somebody help me. Explain why you need help if something's worried you or confused you, and just go and tell one of those grown-ups, and then we can help sort you out and make everything better again. And can you find the internet? Can you use the internet to find out something new about a forest animal? Remember to use Wise Owl's tips to check your facts. If you are going to go off and find some information about forest animals, I recommend that you go and look at a forest, the Woodland Trust website, or the BBC website. The CBeebies website might have some really good facts. I'm trying to think if Andy on CBeebies has done a forest animals thing. The Deadly 60 probably has. Anyway, there's endless websites for BBC, the Woodlands Trust, that you could go to for that, to be a reliable source. Let me know how you get on. I hope you enjoyed the story today. Look, I'm starting to chat too much. Hang on a minute. Where's my stop sharing room? Bye, back again. I hope you enjoyed the story. I really liked that one. I thought it was good and very relevant, because a lot of you will be using the internet to help with your learning, and we want to make sure that what you're learning on the internet is in fact fact and not untrue. I don't want you to think that there's a fire-breathing dragon is really a real thing, because that's just fiction, isn't it? Right, I'm off. I'll see you tomorrow for all million other lessons of wonderfulness and our final internet safety lesson. See you then. Well done, everyone. Keep up the hard work. Bye, 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 bye. See you in a bit.